Hey, Fidelity. What's it cost to invest with the Fidelity app?
Start with as little as $1 with no account fees or trade commissions on U.S. stocks and ETFs.
That's music to my ears.
I can only talk.
Investing involves risk, including risk of loss. Zero account fees apply to retail brokerage accounts only. Sell order assessment fee not included. A limited number of ETFs are subject to a transaction-based service fee of $100. See full list at fidelity.com/commissions. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC, member NYSE SIPC.
This Steve Jones Show podcast is now loading. The Steve Jones Show podcast is presented by Sunbury Motor Company, Purdy Insurance, and Brewers Outlet. Bringing you an in-depth look at Penn State sports and more. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. The Steve Jones Show is presented by Purdy Insurance, Brewers Outlet, and Sunbury Motor Company. Now from the Sunbury Motor Studio, here's Steve Jones.
In this half hour brought to you by Purdy Insurance, Market Street, Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com. Auto, home, life, business, boat, motorcycle, RV. Examples of insurance needs. You name the insurance need, they'll be able to find the solution for you. And to their credit, will do a great job of doing everything they can to save you money. It is all at Purdy Insurance, Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com. Neal Coolong joins us. Sir, always a pleasure. Welcome back.
Pleasure is all mine. Thank you for having me.
Combine time. We were talking to Rob King, the Steelers play-by-play guy who's going out to the Combine. Abdul Carter from Penn State will not work out at the Combine. He will do so here at Penn State on March 28th during Pro Day. We've talked about this before, but just a reminder to everybody, I always feel like the Combine has the ability to maybe you get somebody from day 3 to day 2 and might get somebody from undrafted free agent to day 3, but I think that's the extent of it. How do you look at it?
I think what you're looking at is you've got targets, right? You're going to set up a pretty wide net. This is just one point of it all. It's the most hyped one for sure, but you even said it. You know, Carter's going to work out at his pro day. I think as far as the top 5, if something I guess goes wrong, I 1 and 2 is really the only teams that should be looking at Abdul Carter. Right. They're the ones that should be the most interested in him. But then you've got the possibility of maybe this is a trade target moving up. Not something that would happen all that often for a defensive player, but in a draft like this, maybe. I think he's a superstar waiting to happen. Probably going to be the best player in this draft. A guy like that, he's not going to have many opportunities to see work out. I don't know how much you really need to see of him working out. I think he is the type that get to know him. Does he fit in? What type of leader would he be? He's going to have to be with the status that he's going to get. Medicals are important. That's a part of this as well, but you kind of get updates on that at his pro day as well. So a player like that, I think it's important to scout realistically. I'm trying to think of, I know Bill Parcells once said in regards to Lawrence Taylor, somebody asked him if they watched him, his film or anything like that. So I saw it once and didn't need to watch anymore. Basically saying like this guy is clearly, it's obvious who he is. It's obvious what you're getting when you get him. At the same time, though, it's kind of funny considering, what Lawrence Taylor was known for just as much as being one of the best defensive players of all time. He was insane. It's just his personality, the things that he would do off the field, certainly brought about a level of what we would consider, skepticism today. Mm-hmm. If he can play like that, though, they'll get him a job, and you're not worried about that. It's more, this is what we're getting into, that this is, a character profile of the player. Those things are important as well, and they draw that up as part of their overall effort to kind of assign the type of round that they would envision drafting a player. So obviously they're not going to draft everybody, but they don't put up, final reports on all of them either. They don't have, 315 dossiers written up and put up on a big board and decide from there, who the best of the 315 are. They have priorities of what they're looking for, and a part of that for most teams, as I understand it, is character. How well will he fit in? They know their locker room. The Joe Sweatsock on Twitter talking about his mock draft doesn't know what Howie Roseman is looking for the Eagles next season, what types of players they want 3 years from now, 5 years from now. So you scout all of that, but I think for the most part what they're really trying to do with these things is evaluate who they are as people, how they fit in with the team, what types of leaders they could be, and get some type of check on medicals. Usually when you hear on draft day, you can't believe this guy's falling as far as he is, 99 times out of 100, it's some type of combination, one or the other, or both, of medical uncertainty and character issues. And what I mean by character issues, it's not as simple as I think he's a bad person. They're not being moral police. How well would he fit in with the locker room that they have and what they're trying to build? Sometimes you take a guy who might have some problems, but they have the right leadership in place to kind of help him out. A lot of times too, you don't think about it right away. Some of the coaches are from the same area as the player. That's kind of an instant connection right there. That's something they can build on. They may be more inclined to take somebody that might have gotten into some trouble and need some guidance. They're 21-year-old kids for the most part, 22 maybe. A lot of them haven't played even a whole lot of college football, so there's a lot that has to go into that that's beyond how fast they can run in spandex in a straight line.
Right. But the interview process to me is important, but you have to have the right people conducting the interview process because Neal, you and I both know, because you do enough of these shows, right? You have to have the ability to ask the right questions, good questions, and not ask stupid questions. And this story comes out all the time about some of the questions that are asked in the interview process. And you look around saying, why did that person speak?
I feel let's go back into our pop sayings. It's better to say nothing and be thought of as a fool rather than open your mouth and remove all doubt. I think some people, and you and I do this for a living, because of that, I'm choosing my words carefully. Some people know how to ask questions. Some people know how to kind of build a plan going into an interview and stick to that. Some people do not. Some people don't control their excitement. Some people think that they're more than they are, and don't handle the response perhaps as well as they would like. That's probably more of my concern, because you can take the idiot, 28-year-old intern, front office guy, give him a sheet and say, read these questions and only these questions. You can control that part of it. Mm-hmm. It's where they go with the answers that's more of the concern, because oftentimes there's at least one of these every combine. There's going to be somebody that will go public with some type of odd question that they're asked, and it's an embarrassment for the franchise. And it became, a couple of years ago, became a union issue. I mean, they have to step in and prevent these guys from humiliating themselves. And a lot of it, to me, it's a lack of experience. And a lot of them, I think it's fair to assume that they have eyes on a future general manager position, and it's a skill, certainly as a scout, that you need to develop. On-the-job training when it comes to this stuff is pretty risky, in my mind. It shouldn't be too hard to kind of figure out what types of questions you want to ask that might not get the standard basic response, but know where the line is. You really don't need to be that clever. You don't need to be that tricky. Ask normal people questions. It's to some degree it's a conversation, and that. I'm sure you teach your students that. It's more how you can make them feel at ease if you want to get a real answer. So asking questions in regards to, and I'm only saying this because of the famous examples of the past, activities regarding their mothers, not a good idea. Probably want to stay away from that. Don't talk about their political affiliations. That's a problem. That's going to bring out the wrong kind of response. You're not going to get the information that you want. And the worst part of it is for the team, I shouldn't say the worst part, but the real downside of it is they only get a certain amount of time. So to waste it by asking ridiculous things that I don't even know what type of answer you expect to get or what real question you're trying to ask. But I feel like anybody who's trained, who's got a sense of emotional intelligence, they can ask questions and feel the response and kind of get the information that they're looking for. I've said this a couple times now, but find out what type of leaders they are. There are easy questions to ask that are not totally obvious that you kind of expect leaders to answer around these lines. You're not looking to necessarily pin the tail on the donkey here, but it's more that's the kind of answer a leader would give. That's a stand-up, straightforward type of response. He's a good communicator. He knows how to deal with these types of things, which may be a little bit tougher, but he's handling this in stride. Somebody who has poise, that's a good mark to some degree. They don't all have to be like that, but it's a difficult area to climb into, certainly if the interviewer doesn't have any experience doing it. So it's almost like you need to interview the hell out of them before you're going to put them in front of a bunch of people with your brand's reputation on the line.
Look, and there's enough guys that have moved around in jobs over the years, especially in the last 5-6 years, where I can call somebody up that I know and say, "Hey, look, you're around Carter. Tell me, what am I dealing with? What should I talk to him about?" Right? You can do all that. There's a lot of due diligence you can do by talking to surrogates. Don't talk to the agent. Okay, that's for contract negotiations. But there's enough people out there you should be able to trust that can give you some good answers, which then in turn allows you to ask the right questions.
One that I like, and you usually hear something that moves you, is when they talk to the strength and conditioning coach at the college.
Yep.
To what degree does this guy come in to work? How easy is it to coach him? If you're, and I mean absolutely no disrespect to Abdul Carter at all, and I'm not suggesting anything, but when Abdul Carter's on the field, there are things that he does that you don't coach.
That's right.
I'd imagine he loves playing the game of football. you tend to enjoy the things you're really good at. What's he like in the weight room? What, not just his attendance, although that's important, though I would say a physical freak like him might not quite, again, I don't know if this is him or not, but some of them don't necessarily feel that heavy lifting is what they need to do at that point in their careers because they're not challenged by the guys they're going against. Does he lift up his teammates? Is he spotting guys? Does he put the weights away? Things like that, in my opinion, that matters. That's real character. It's not stuff that your agent is going to pound into your head that you need to go and do, by and large. But it shows responsibility. It shows accountability. I feel that the strength and conditioning coach has an eagle-eyed perspective of every single player that's on that team. And if it were me, that's the guy I'm going to go talk to. The head coach has 1,000 different reasons why he's going to pump this guy up or drop this guy down. Yeah. You can't necessarily get a purely objective view. And that's not knocking the head coach or saying that they have an agenda, but there are a lot of things that go into the head coach's perspective. The strength and conditioning coach is there to make sure these guys are doing it, and I think any NFL coach would understand. Some do and some don't. But what's he like around everybody else? He's around his teammate in a competitive environment, but not technique, not the game itself. Is he putting in the work? Does he, is he the first guy to chest bump teammate who just broke his personal squat record? That type of stuff, I think, is what galvanizes a team. It's not just playing on Sundays. What are they doing between, games? I think you see that first and foremost in the weight room. So for me, the strength and conditioning coach, assuming he is somebody of character and has a reputation for giving you honesty, I'd like to know his perspective of what type of man he is in that environment. I'm not concerned with how much he's lifting. I'm going to know that anyway. What's he like in there? Does he hold himself and his teammates accountable? Is he doing his work? Is he still kind of engaging everybody else who's there? Because it's a team effort. You're all in there. It's 5 in the morning. I'm sure they don't really want to do it, but who's there giving their all? Who's the sweatiest? Who's putting in the work? And who's encouraging everybody else? Who is there and kind of making sure everyone is staying on task because they want to be there. They're following this guy. That stuff's important. When you look at a first-round pick, to some degree, he probably should be a leader. He's getting the accolades. He's getting the esteem of this spot. He better be somebody who's used to the spotlight and still works with his teammates. Does he want them to succeed? Is he excited for them to succeed? You see all that in the weight room.
And the other part, too, is, and I'll do this from a personal point of view, but one thing that really impressed me about Carter, especially this year, was all the time he spent after practice with either the defensive line coach, Deion Barnes, or the supplemental defensive line coach, Torrance Brown, working on his craft. After people are leaving, he's out there working on his takeoff, his route, his use of hands. So, that's something with Carter that impressed me, was how much he worked on his craft because he felt he needed to be better. Now, the next part is going to be, there's enough free agent quarterbacks out there. My gut is Deshaun Watson's out of football and done. Matthew Stafford obviously is not. And there's one mock draft that has the Steelers taking Ashton Genty. Your thoughts?
I think Ashton Genty would be great in Pittsburgh. I don't think he falls that far. I think we've seen something. It's interesting. This really marks the time of our time together, Steve. We saw running backs allegedly overvalued and then kind of crater out, and it's on the rise again. We're back to that. And I think Jahmyr Gibbs, who was, people were freaking out when the Lions took him at 12.
Yep.
You look at the impact that he makes, and he's not even at his full potential yet. Genty's even better. I think you're looking at a superstar. If you're not looking at him from a prospect perspective at the level of Saquon Barkley, okay, I can understand that. Maybe he's not a top 5 guy, but if he drops to 21 and you're the Steelers, you take him. There's not going to be a better player on the board at 21.
I agree.
If he's there.
I agree. And you know what? I'll add one thing about Genty. What I think is valuable about Genty is this. We all know he can run, and I saw enough video of him leading into doing the Fiesta Bowl game. But if you go back to his junior year, or I guess it would be his sophomore year, whatever the 2023 season was, Neal, the guy is a good pass receiver out of the backfield. They just didn't use him as often this past season in that role. But he can catch the ball. To me, that takes his value up even higher.
Yeah, when you get 8 yards pop on a handoff, you're not going to throw to him. What's the point?
That's right.
You're going to keep the 100% play intact. But yeah, I agree with you. There's not a thing wrong with his game all around. He's really a remarkable player. We're not talking about it now, and this doesn't mean anything on February 25th. Come mid-April, after more prominent mock drafts go and more people follow that like the lemmings that they are, you're going to see him expected to be drafted much higher than what people are saying where he is now.
Yeah.
Just looking at the trends recently, in a non-quarterback draft, he has way too much talent to ignore. Mm-hmm. And you get the situation like Detroit. They had 2 first-round picks. If you want to make a move and you're able to acquire a second first-round pick. He's the perfect target for probably 5, 6 through 11, 12, somewhere in there.
Yep.
And no matter who drafts him, he improves their team. There aren't a whole lot of guys that you say that about, and there are strategic reasons why this player gets drafted over that player. They're not all even. Each position has a pretty wide difference in value. But a guy like him, there are so many things that he can do to impact the game, and it's such a situational game now. I think that the idea of the running back is undervalued has been level set just by the idea that we can play situational football throughout the entire game now. And a running back, we're not afraid of the alleged lack of value on a guy not playing 70 snaps a game. If we can give him the ball 12, 15 times, and overall, he's averaging 8 yards a pop, 9 yards a pop, something like that, scoring often, breaking plays. This guy has a role in our offense. I don't care if he's the rushing leader or not. I don't care if he has 2,500 yards from scrimmage. He can make an impact on a game-to-game basis within this structure. So for me, I look at a team like Chicago, and I don't see how they could possibly ignore a player like that. I don't think he gets past the Bears. Where are they, 10, 11, somewhere in there? Huge value. Ben Johnson saw it up front, up close with 2 of them in Detroit, and they ate offensively all year. So I definitely see we're going to probably be talking a lot more about running backs this coming season, considering how many of them there are who are going to be really good. You're going to get pretty good running backs in the 6th round of this draft, which might suggest to you that, perhaps Ginty isn't worth that high of a pick, but that dude's special. He's going to be a player in this league. And there's just too much you can do with a versatile weapon, which, ironically, it comes down to Le'Veon Bell and his kind of quixotic approach to the running back position, wanting it to be a weapon, getting the value of a top running back and a second receiver. That's really sort of where it is. I think you're going to get that more, maybe not in terms of total utilization, but impact per play, I think, is really what you're going to be looking at more with running backs, and teams are going to want to have that kind of home run threat available. Now, it's not Najee Harris. You want to get a guy that actually makes plays, and guys like Ginty can do that. So, I think it's kind of a no-brainer now. Pump him up, get him up there, and get him out on the field.
Exactly. Because what did Barkley do this year? 12 runs of 60 or better? Ginty had 12 runs of 50 or better in a shorter season. So, all right. My friend, always a pleasure. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, guys.
Neal Coolong joining us. Brought to you by Purdy Insurance, Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com on News Radio 1070 WKOK.
Party time, game time, or just fun time. Doesn't matter what time it is, because it's Brewers Outlet time. The beverage supermarket has the area's largest beer selection. Imports, microbrews, ciders, and domestics. Pick from over 100 ice-cold 12-packs and dozens of 24-ounce singles. Soda, snacks, hot sauces, fresh roasted peanuts. Make it one-stop party shopping, and don't forget the pickle bar. So whatever you're celebrating or just doing it up, Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street, Sunbury wants to see you. And thank you for your years of patronage. Party time, game time, or just fun time. Doesn't matter what time it is, because it's Brewers Outlet time. The beverage supermarket has the area's largest beer selection. Imports, microbrews, ciders, and domestics. Pick from over 100 ice-cold 12-packs and dozens of 24-ounce singles. Soda, snacks, hot sauces, fresh roasted peanuts. Make it one-stop party shopping, and don't forget the pickle bar. So whatever you're celebrating or just doing it up, Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street, Sunbury wants to see you. And thank you for your years of patronage.
When you're in the thick of a project, Harbor Freight is the place that always comes in handy. Whether you're picking up something for your pickup truck or a power tool for your project, at Harbor Freight, your dollar always goes further. And these days, when everything seems to cost more, you can take pride in knowing that you get hard-working tools at hard-working prices. Whatever you do it for less at Harbor Freight.
Hi, this is Season. For over 100 years, the Purdy Insurance Agency has been protecting families and businesses of the greater Susquehanna Valley and beyond. With the experience of our trained and knowledgeable staff, you can rest assured that your needs will be evaluated and met by some of the industry's best representatives. No matter what your insurance needs are, call Purdy Insurance today at 570-286-5855. Visit our website at purdyinsurance.com or check us out on Facebook to see what we can do for you.